Hi everybody, welcome back to the channel. So in today's video I thought I would run through my full post-camp road trip from last summer. So we actually did, I think it was about a two and a half week road trip. We started in Salt Lake City and we went all the way down through Utah and then curved back up into California. So I've got a big list here of all the places we visited, how much everything cost, and I'll kind of run you through some of my top tips. And if anybody else is thinking of doing a Utah/California road trip, I would 100% recommend using this route. So looking at this here, we had the car rented from the 15th till the 30th of August last summer. So what was that? A little over 2 weeks, 2 weeks and a day. We started the road trip. We actually were in Nashville for a few nights beforehand, and then we flew over to Salt Lake City. From Salt Lake City, we picked up the car. Our flight did get us in pretty late, so we actually just picked up the car and then went straight to the Airbnb that we were staying at for the night. Picking up the car wasn't super smooth. So for starters, we went to the enterprise desk and then they said to us, actually, you don't need to fill any details in here. You just go straight downstairs, pick up the car and go. Went downstairs into the parking lobby garage lot thing, picked up the car, and then the woman was like, oh no, because he's at international, you need to go back upstairs and you need to sign these full-on forms. So then we go back upstairs to sign these full-on forms, and then he was trying to tell us we were going to have to pay a young driver charge, which was not mentioned on our booking anywhere. There was just like a whole lot of little things, and we were there for ages, but we did eventually get it sorted and we got in the car. So we had, I think it was like a mid-size SUV, or maybe it was standard. I'm not really sure, but we had a Hyundai Santa Fe and she was a beauty, to be fair. It was a beautiful car, nice to drive, and I can't really say anything bad about it, to be honest. So after we picked up the car, we just went straight down and stayed in the Airbnb and met up with everybody else. We were pretty tired, so we literally just like ate, settled, and then went to bed. So the next morning we got up and we went to the Salt Plains. Now, this is like the weirdest place I've ever been. Like, all I can describe it of is like, it's like a salty desert. Like, you literally go and as far as you can see in front of you, it's just crystallized white salt everywhere. I think it was about an hour and a half drive, about an hour from the middle of Salt Lake City out to the Salt Plains. It was in the complete opposite direction to where we were going after. So we literally just drove an hour and a half out one way to drive an hour and a half all the way back. But it was definitely worth it. So when we were actually at the Salt Plains, we stopped off at this one bit first where there was like loads of toilets and stuff, and we were like, oh, this is cool, but like, I don't know, it wasn't really what I was expecting. And then we got back in the cars and we drove a little bit further around, and it basically took us this road like directly on into the middle of it, and then the road just ended, and then once you get to the end of the road, you got like free range to drive around everywhere. As you can see, we were literally flying. I don't even want to know what speed we're actually driving at, but it was very cool. It was so much fun. It's just like one of those places that it doesn't feel real. Like, there's just nothing I can quite describe it like. So after a very exciting like hour and a half drive, we were there for about probably like only an hour, if that. We were doing donuts round and round, and then we decided to drive back, and we actually went and visited East High, which is the school that they filmed High School Musical at. If anybody was a Disney kid growing up, you have to go and visit the school. But literally all we could do was go there, stand outside and like take a few photos. We couldn't actually get in. I don't know if it was because the school was on or it was because it was closed, but they weren't doing any tours or anything when we were there that day. So we literally just went, took some photos and then left. So yeah, that was our one day in Salt Lake City. After we'd done the Salt Plains and we had done East High, we were then driving across to Moab, which is more on the east side of Utah. I did this drive and it is literally the most scenic drive I've ever done. I literally felt like I was in Cars or something. It was insane. It was just beautiful mountains everywhere and the whole scenery was orange, and it's just one like really long road just stretching out in front of you, like as far as you could see. It literally looked like you weren't getting anywhere because everything in the background and in the distance was so big. You had to drive so far for you to even feel like you were getting any closer to it. The closer and closer we got to Moab as well, it was just getting more and more orange everywhere. It was so beautiful. We actually stayed at an Airbnb in Moab, and I think we were there for like 3 nights. Yeah, so we stayed at an Airbnb in Moab and we were there for 3 nights, which for us was the perfect amount of time. By the time we got there on the 16th, it was quite late, so we didn't really do too much. We just went to the supermarket, stocked up on some food, and then chilled, went to the pool for a little bit, and then went to bed. The next day, I believe it was, we went to Arches National Park. Now, Arches was amazing. We actually didn't do the hike to Delicate Arch, which is literally the main thing that everybody goes there to see, but it was so hot. So I definitely recommend, if you're wanting to do any of the like longer hikes around Moab in Arches, you need to do it early in the morning. You need to get up and you need to get it done and get it out of the way. So yeah, I can't actually remember the name of the particular ones we did, but I'll obviously pop a few photos in here for you to have a little look. Really, you go in the national park and you've got there's like one road that just goes all the way up and around, and all the different arches are like verging off from that one main road. I think we just went all the way, or nearly all the way at the top, and then just worked way back down. As we were leaving, at one of the final kind of arches we went to see, this massive storm cloud rolled in, and we were like, right, okay, we need to get out of here because this isn't safe. We get in the car and we're driving through, and it's literally just like a sheet of rain coming towards us. Thunder, lightning, you name it, we had it in Moab. So after Arches, I think we stopped off and we got some froyo from a little Moab froyo place, and then went back and chilled at the apartment. Now, I can't remember if at this point we went to Canyonlands or if we had a pool day. Either way around, we had one day where we went to Canyonlands National Park, which again was insane. It's like the Grand Canyon, but just spread out even further. I will say though, when you go to these places, there really isn't any signal. So if you're in groups, like, make sure you stick together, because once you separate off, like, you're not going to be able to use your phone to kind of, hello, like, where are you? There's literally nothing. But yeah, Canyonlands was beautiful. We went there, we did like one of the shorter hikes. It wasn't really a hike, it was more like a gentle stroll. Explored a little bit, and then we had our little pack lunches and then went back. And then again, I can't remember which way around the days went, but then we did also have one day where we kind of chilled by the pool and went into Moab town and had a little look around, and it was beautiful. So on the 19th, we drove down from Moab to Page. Now, Page is actually kind of at the top of Arizona. So we drove all the way down through Utah and ended up in Page. When we were here, on the way, we went to Horseshoe Bend. And after Horseshoe Bend, we quickly checked into our Airbnb, and then we decided that we were going to do Grand Canyon on the night for sunset, which again was absolutely beautiful. So Horseshoe Bend, I didn't really have too much to say about it. Like, it was cool, like, we went and saw it. It's a short walk, you get there, you turn around and you come back. There wasn't really a lot to it, but it's something that I could say I've seen. And then Grand Canyon, obviously, the drive, I think, was about an hour or an hour and a half from where we were staying in Page to then get to the Grand Canyon National Park. When you then get to the entrance for the national park, it's another long drive kind of inside to get to whichever viewing point you want to go to. Now, previously during the summer when I had been at camp, I was in charge of like the oldest kids, the 11th graders, and they went on a West Coast trip. So we actually did go to the Grand Canyon during the summer and were there for sunset, which is why when I went travelling after camp with my friends, I was like, we need to go at sunset because it's beautiful. After the sun had set, we kind of made a swift exit and we drove back to our little house in Page. So we were only in Page for that one night, and there wasn't really a lot to see there. They had a Walmart and they had a Mackey's, and I think that was kind of about it. After we left there, the next drive was to take us to Kanab. I think that's how you say it. And in Kanab, that was kind of our base to do Bryce and Zion National Parks. Again, we didn't really have great weather when we were actually in Kanab. Both the times when we ventured up to Zion and to Bryce, the weather was nice in the parks, but in Kanab, when we were actually like stationed there, it wasn't great. Again, there was a pool, so I wanted to go and sunbathe. The rain comes in, I would literally get covered in rain. Obviously I was in the pool anyway, so it was wet, but you can't really sunbathe when it's raining, do you know what I mean? But the main events were obviously to go to Bryce Canyon and Zion National Park. So Bryce, again, I can't remember the name of all these trails we did. If I can get the information up, I'll pop it in the video here for you as well. So if you've seen this, I've clearly done the right research to find out the names of the places that we actually visited. There was these savage little chipmunk things there. I don't know if they were actually chipmunks, but that's what I am assuming they are. And they were literally following us around everywhere. If you had any sort of food in your bag, they were at you. They were ready to eat and they were ready to attack. I think some of the girls had like Oreos or something in their bag, and every time they pulled one out to eat them, the little chipmunks would appear out of nowhere and they would be like, they were fearless. You know, like pigeons in the UK, how if you drive and you literally have to get this close before they fly out the way. The chipmunks were like that, except they would just like run towards you. Like they had no fear at all. So we did the hike. I'm saying it wasn't a super hike, but Bryce Canyon was beautiful, the bit that we did see of it. It was just all orange and it felt deserty, like it felt like I was on a different planet. It was honestly amazing. And then the other national park that we visited when we were stationed in Kanab was Zion National Park. Now, the iconic thing to do when you go to Zion is either Angel's Landing or Angel's Falls. I think it's Angel's Landing, or you would do the Narrows. So we'd had a lot of people that probably weren't too keen on heights, let alone hiking up heights on very narrow paths. So we did not do Angel's Landing, but we did do the Narrows. And again, we had some people that were quite short. So when we went through the Narrows, the water was coming all the way up. It's a weird experience. Again, I've never really done anything like it before. Probably don't think I'll end up doing anything like it again in the future. Not that I wouldn't, I just don't know where I would go to do this sort of thing. For anybody that doesn't know what it is, you're basically hiking along what feels like a river in between like two sort of canyon edges or cliffs. I'm not a geologist. What is the word for the people that study rocks and whatever? I'm not a geography teacher. I don't know the actual names for all these things. I'm not here to educate you on the names. I'm here to educate you on a good road trip route to take. Anyways, we hiked through there. The water comes kind of like all the way up to your chest, so make sure you're wearing things that you don't mind if they're going to get a bit wet and dirty. When you actually get to Zion National Park, you can't drive up and around it. So you have to park in the main lot, and then they have shuttle buses that'll take you up and around and drop you off at the different points. So we got a shuttle bus, it took us up and it dropped us off at the Narrows. I think it was maybe about a 15-20 minute walk from where it drops you off until you actually get to the bit where it opens up, where there's all the water. And it starts off okay, you're thinking, oh, this isn't too bad, it's just a little bit of water. And then it just starts getting deeper and deeper and deeper. And at some points you're going through and you literally feel like you're about to get fully submerged. The rocks under the water are very, very slippy, and the water isn't clear, so you can't actually see the rocks that are at the bottom. So some of us were wearing trainers. I had like my Hokas on when I was doing it. Some of us wore Crocs. Someone did nearly lose a Croc at one point, like it slipped off their foot and got stuck in the rocks. Some people that were there were obviously professionals. They were wearing like water shoes, like they had the full gear. We were there, no gear and no idea, but we still had a great time and it was a lot of fun. So definitely recommend doing the Narrows if you're at Zion National Park. So after we were stationed in Kanab, we then headed over to Vegas. We were actually only in Vegas for one night, and this was where half of the group was actually leaving us, and there was only myself and 3 others that continued on this road trip. So we didn't stay directly on the strip, we stayed at a Hilton Suites, which was kind of just behind the strip. It was a lot cheaper, and to be fair, it was a really, really beautiful hotel, and they had free breakfast in the morning, which was very good. So I have been to Vegas a few times before, and most people in the group had also been already. So we didn't really need to see all of the sights. We did have a bit of a walk up and down the strip. We went and got In-N-Out as well, which the first time I had In-N-Out in 2022, I really wasn't that impressed. I just thought it was a bit overrated. I must have just had a bad one, because every other time I've had In-N-Out since, so I had it a few times last year, I was very impressed, and it is great, and I'd love that being In-N-Out in the UK. But the main thing we were actually there for was to go and watch Magic Mike. On the night, our group went to watch a Magic Mike show, and then went for a bit of a stroll around through the casinos and different things like that. Not many of us were too bothered about really going out like crazy. Like, Vegas is an expensive place to go out, and because half the group was leaving the next day, they kind of like wanted to get a bit of an early night, so we just headed back to the hotel. I think some people stayed out, and then we just chilled. The next day we had obviously check out early in the morning, but we didn't really need to leave until later on, so we just chilled by the pool all morning. It was beautiful hot sunshine, and tanning in Vegas is really easy, because although it's super hot, it's like dry heat compared to, for example, if you're trying to tan in like Orlando in Florida or Miami. It's so humid and sticky, you're literally dripping out of every pore. In Vegas, as long as you got a bottle of water by you, it's definitely tolerable. So tanning in Vegas, I was just like this all day long trying to get a bit of a tan. And then we quickly popped to the Welcome to Las Vegas sign on the night, and then the rest of the group left and myself and 3 others continued on. So because we were going from Vegas in Nevada through to Sequoia in California, that is quite a long drive, so we decided to just do a night stopover in Barstow, which is about halfway between Vegas and Sequoia where we needed to be. And then we were just going to get up the next morning and go and like do something kind of nearby or do something en route. Unfortunately, things took a little turn for the worse, and on our drive from Vegas to Barstow, I was driving along the motorway and a car flew past, a rock flung up from the bottom of their wheels, hit the windscreen and actually cracked the windscreen. Now, I've never really had a cracked windscreen in a car before, so I didn't really know what to do. So I started like panicking a little bit, and I was driving along. I had Stephen in the front with me and I was like, oh my God, it's cracked, oh my God, it's cracked. So we pulled over, we got out of the car. I was kind of panicking thinking, what do we do? Is the whole windscreen just going to totally shatter? That's apparently not what happens when you get a chipped windscreen. I know that for future now, I should have just kept driving. Anyways, we got back in the car and we were like, we're going to have to try and take this to an enterprise place to get the car swapped over. I continued driving, everybody else was searching for us, but basically it was a Saturday night, we were going to Barstow, all the places had closed already, and because the next day was Sunday, there was nowhere really open nearby. It kind of set the tone for the rest of the night, and I was feeling a little bit stressed about it, so when we went to Walmart to pick up some food, I did pick myself up a few sweet treats to kind of comfort eat and just like cheer myself up. I remember we went into the hotel and I'm pretty sure we watched The Babadook, like that horror movie, and then went to sleep. Woke up the next morning, we're on the phone to Enterprise. They sent us to one place to get a new car, which I think was about a 40-minute drive away. We got there and they were like, oh no, we've not got any other new ones. You're going to have to go to Ontario Airport. Now there's an Ontario in Los Angeles. We get to Ontario Airport, which is literally so close to being in the centre of LA. And that is the one place I've always said I never wanted to drive through because the LA traffic is just crazy. We got there and then they were like, all right, yeah, we'll switch the car over for you. It's fine. We got the car switched over and then we were back heading up towards Sequoia. Now, the place we stayed at in Sequoia, we were there for 2 nights. I do not know how you pronounce this place. I don't know if it's Tulare, Tulare, Tulare. Like, I literally have no clue how to pronounce it. So if anybody can correct me, feel free to let me know. We just stayed at a La Quinta, which are very budget-friendly hotels, but it was cheap and cheerful. It was absolutely fine in there. And again, they had free breakfast, which was great. By the time we got there, after all the kerfuffle with the car, we didn't really have much time. So there was like an Outlets next to us. We went to the Outlets, did a bit of shopping, went to Boot Barn, tried on some cowboy boots, and then got a Raising Cane's for dinner, which I was very, very thankful for after all the car stress the previous day and that morning. And then went to sleep and kind of got up early, ready to go to Sequoia. It was a little bit of a drive to Sequoia, but again, it is absolutely beautiful and I would definitely recommend doing it. We were only here for 1 day and I felt like I did enough. Like, I don't think there was anything that I would say I felt as if I'd missed out on. So if you are doing a road trip and you do want to try and squish in a lot of things, if you've only got 1 day in Sequoia, I would say that it's definitely more than enough. We went up to a few different viewpoints. We went through and saw like all of the massive trees, which is obviously the main point of being in Sequoia, to see all those big trees. And then when we were finished, we just drove back to the hotel and then chilled for the night. The next part of our journey took us to Yosemite, and we were here from the 27th till the 30th of August. And that was 3 nights. We stayed at the Yosemite Bug Rustic Mountain Resort. Now, resort makes it sound like it's a really fancy place, but it was actually just a load of kind of like tent cabins, lodges and cabins literally in the hills near Mariposa, I think it's called, which is a kind of little town that's close to Yosemite entrance. When I booked it, it was one of the cheaper options. It was relatively close drive to the entrance for Yosemite. I think it was about half an hour drive. And it had like hostel facilities, so it had like a kitchen that you could go in and cook your food. It had a dining room area, it had like little games things and a fire pit and stuff. So we were like, all right, we'll book it. It actually was so much better than I could have imagined it to be. In our tent cabin, there was a double bed and they had 2 single beds. It was boiling hot in there during the day and the fan was a bit iffy, to be honest. but then it was freezing cold on a night. So when we first went in there and I saw there was like thick duvets, I was thinking, there's no way I'm gonna need this. And then the first night I was literally like tucked up like this, with my duvet right underneath my chin. The toilet, shower, bathroom and laundry facilities were in a separate building that was just down the stairs from where our tent cabin was, and they were literally spotless. Like I can't fault them at all. When you went in, there was separate toilets and then separate like shower cubicles, but they all had like doors on that locked. You had to put a code in to get in them, so I always felt very safe. Never felt like anyone was gonna accidentally jump in on the door on us. So I literally can't say anything bad about this place. Same with the kitchen facilities. They had everything in there that you would need, and it had like quite like a nice communal feel to it. So onto Yosemite. We spent 3 days there, and I think we went into Yosemite pretty much every single day of those 3 days. We didn't do a lot of like extreme sort of hiking. We honestly, a lot of the time, chilled by the kind of like rivery stream thing, and it was beautiful. We went up to this like the Glacier Point viewpoint type thing. We went to see Yosemite Falls, but there was barely any water there. We went to Mirror Lake. It had no water in it, but honestly it was just like the most beautiful scenic place. If you can get there, definitely add it onto your road trip route. It is amazing. Like I can't honestly say anything bad about it. So we had an amazing time in Yosemite. When we left Yosemite, we were heading to San Francisco, and we just stayed in San Fran for one night. On the way back from Yosemite, we stopped off at Half Moon Bay, which is kind of like on that coastline just before you get to San Francisco. And again, it was absolutely beautiful. It felt more like an English beach compared to when I'm in like Florida and being in Miami or Naples or Sarasota or somewhere like that. It felt like very English to me, and obviously being in the Northeast, we have got a lot of like beautiful beaches like Tynemouth and even Whitley Bay and Shields. Like they are really nice beaches. This Half Moon Bay felt like that, but just more bougie. Like when we were driving through there, like you could tell the houses were expensive. That is one thing I love about certain parts of America, is like all the houses are different. And I don't know whether it's just like they just randomly get built like that, or it's because people build the houses kind of themselves to whatever design they want. But like here in England, like I'm looking out my window and it's just a row of houses that all look the same because it's just a new build housing estate. Whereas like there, every house was different, and it was amazing. It was so nice. After we had finished kind of in Half Moon Bay, we went to San Fran, dropped the car off, nearly had a heart attack because the woman tried to charge us an extra like $1,300 because we didn't realise that mileage was not included with our car rental and that there was a one-way drop-off fee. Thankfully, I think she literally saw our jaws hit the floor in shock, and she could tell that we obviously did not realise that we didn't have unlimited mileage, or that was something we had to pay for at the end. And she waived that fee for us, so thank you to the lady at Enterprise in San Francisco Airport that sorted that for us. So we only had the extra like $300 to pay, which you have to pay if you're not returning your car to the same place. So obviously we picked it up in Salt Lake City and then dropped it off in San Fran. We just stayed at a hotel that was kind of close to the airport. We just found that to be the easiest, and also the hotels in San Francisco, like right in the center, were very, very expensive. So we're like, there's no point. We just chilled that night, and then we had a few hours kind of on the morning where we got up and we went and explored San Francisco kind of city. Again, some of us had been there before, so we didn't do everything, but we I think got dropped off in like Castro, which is like the gay village type area, had a little explore around there, and then walked all the way up towards like where the piers are, and then walked down and around the piers, came through Chinatown, I believe, had a McDonald's, got picked up, and then went back to the hotel, got our bags and went to the airport. So that was our like 2-week road trip route through Utah and California. And if anybody is planning on doing a road trip post camp travels like I did, or just you're heading to America and you really want to do a Utah California road trip, this route was amazing. We saw a lot of stuff. I don't feel like I missed out on anything at all. Obviously, you could spend longer in the national parks if you wanted to. You could do more advanced hikes. Like, there's loads of different things you could like add on and customize this route kind of to how you would want it to be. But if anybody does want any sort of like tips, or if you've got any questions about the route that I've took, feel free to leave them in the comments below. I think I've kind of covered pretty much everything there. So yeah, I think I probably spent around $2,000 on this road trip for cars, hotels, everything like that. There might have been a little bit more give or take for like food and petrol and things like that on top of it, but I was pretty happy with the amount that I got done versus the amount that it actually cost me. But I think I'll wrap it up there. So if anybody does have any questions or you want a little bit more information about the route that I took, feel free to ask me in the comments below. And if you enjoyed this video, make sure you give it a thumbs up and subscribe to the channel for more videos in the future.